we have a conversation about how they have gone about building their business. Today, I'm really excited because I am actually getting to talk to someone who has grown a brand which I have followed for so long. I have been a very happy customer of Printo. And we have Manish Sharma with us, who's been the CEO and a co-founder of Printo. And he's built Printo from the scratch, and it's now a very good brand spanning across cities. And today we have Manish with us to discuss how packaging plays a role in building a successful DTC brand. Welcome, Manish, to Mojo Series. It's a pleasure to have you here. So, tell us a little bit about your journey with Printo, your and how you went about building a brand.
Hey, thanks, Keval, and thanks, Instamojo, for putting this together. It's my pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. Let me talk a bit about, thanks for asking how Printo started off. Yeah, Printo actually started off with a brand journey on its own. I remember walking around the streets of Bombay. I'm from Bombay, where it was called Bombay then, and looking for a business card for myself because I'd come back to India and I was networking and trying to, and I thought it would be nice to have a name in a certain font, looked a certain way, with my number and my email ID, right? And so I could hand it over to people. And I was looking for all sorts of opportunities. I was looking for a job, so I was meeting all sorts of folks. I was looking to talk to others about business ideas. I was wondering what to do next, you know. And it was important that I put my name out there in a certain way that I had conceived it, right? In a certain font that I wanted it to be in, and that's when I started going around to get a business card printed. It so happened I had such a poor experience that I started wondering maybe there's an opportunity here, and maybe this is a business worth exploring. Maybe there are others like me, and so on. I started investigating, and the journey of Printo had its seeds in that, in me trying to brand myself on a business card, and moved on. And finally, we opened our first store in good old Bangalore in Koramangala, yeah, 15 years ago. Right? So that's the start of the journey, and the whole vision was to make it incredibly simple for individuals and businesses, and especially smaller growing businesses, to print and create brand merchandise, right? Initially on paper and now on all different sorts of things. So yeah, that's a bit about the Printo background.
Yeah, and yeah, I think when you say packaging for small businesses and how it's important, I think there's this place in Bangalore called Chart Street, and I order food from there just for their packaging because it's so colorful and vibrant, and it just draws you towards that particular brand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Manish, can you tell us a little bit about what exactly makes a brand and how should one go about it?
Yeah, I think I like to break down things to be very simple, right? Yes, and I think a lot of folks on this call hopefully are entrepreneurs themselves. So I would see brand as two or three elements, right? The look. So let's take a shop. Let's think of a shop because it's easy for me to visualize a shop and it's easy for me to describe what I did. So let's take the Printo shop, right? I know what a Printo shop looks like, and it should consistently look like that. So if you pass by a Printo store, even without reading the logo completely registering, you should know this is a Printo shop, right? And that happens with us with many brands, right? So the look is important. Okay. When you walk into the store, the experience is important. So there are various moments of truth as we see when a customer engages with a product, right? So yeah, so walking into a store, looking at the store is one moment of truth. Walking into a store is another moment of truth. Being met by somebody and greeted by somebody is another moment of truth. And finally, getting the product of a certain quality and a certain standard that you expect. And we're not getting into whether it's great standard or great quality, but what you expect. That's the important piece, is what all comes in and makes a brand, right? So yeah, so I'll repeat that. It's what you expect when you see it, what you actually experience when you're buying it, and what you finally experience when you've received it. Right? All these three things simply make a brand. Right? So yeah, let's take another example out of food, since it's a favorite topic. So what's another popular brand for you, Keval?
In the food segment,
Yes.
uh, I would say I really like how CCD packages stuff.
Okay.
Some like I because I think the connect there is that since it's a brand that like it's been one of the most popular coffee brands ever since we were growing
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah.
So for us, that connect is always there. You look at like a CCD glass or a cup, and you know it's safe. It's
Yeah.
a taste that you have experienced. So yeah, I would say
Yeah.
CCD.
No, fantastic. You use some words that we know, we've grown up with this and we've seen it everywhere. And you used another word, safe. Let's just take two of these, right? And if Cafe Coffee Day had even double the number of cafes, but they all looked a little different, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Cafe Coffee Day written differently, right? And there was a time in the early days when they were experimenting with logos, so it looked a
Okay.
little different, right? But if they looked very different, we would never have that association of repeatability, right? So
Yes.
repeatability is so important, and it registers subliminally in our background, saying that. So first principle is get that repeatability out there, right? Whenever you teach deal with a customer in a retail business, it might be a board, but it needs to look the same, right? If you have only one shop, that's also perfect, but it everything that you do needs to have some connected pattern. Could be a color, could be a font, could be a type of language, the way we speak, right?
Yes.
So you got that. And then you said safety. Now safety really, I'm hazarding a guess that you're not a food safety expert.
Yes.
And neither am I, and neither are most of our customers who are consuming it. But it is important to know that a company which actually keeps this consistent is capable of providing safety. You know what I mean, right?
Yes.
So, because safety needs consistency. So, if you're in the safety business, even the food business, for example, I would lay massive stress on consistency, not only for your brand, but also to send the message that you're a company which believes in processes, and you would have taken care of basic things in food. Yeah. So that's thanks for bringing out that example. That's a good example for a brand that we could, kind of analyze, right? Yeah, I could jump on to some of the other elements of branding, but what would be nice is if the audience today it starts putting in questions that they'd like to see addressed in this session. We're going to talk about packaging, but you talk about brand experiences in general and what makes a brand experience. So if you put out messages, will help Cable and me navigate the conversation much better. Cable, did you have
Yes.
another question? Yeah.
We have one comment from one of the viewers saying Slay Coffee totally slays the packaging. I think coffee seems to be like a good segment to take
Yeah.
examples from.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm a coffee lover, and I'm a third wave fan, right? And everything about third wave. Now, here's a great point. Every cafe of third wave is different, right? Its
Okay.
interiors are different. At the same time, it's the same, right? So they've been able to keep some of the brand elements so consistent, right? At the same time, wrap up uniqueness. If you have a lot of consistency, you also have freedom for play in saying that, hey, can I do different lanterns and different benches instead of just simple sofa seats? And can I have wooden unpolished tables, rough finish, instead of the regular formica table, right? You can play a lot. But look at everything else that they do consistently, right? And that when I order a pack of beans at home, it's packed in a certain way all the time with a certain logo and a certain way of presenting what the coffee is all about, which talks about the brand. Again, none of us are talking about whether it's good or bad, whether you agree or disagree. but it's done a certain way. In fact, some of the biggest brands in the world you may hate, right? There might be personalities you may not like, but if you had to list out 20 things about a politician X or a politician Y whom you dislike, you will consistently see that there are certain things which always stick out, and that builds
Yes.
personalities and that builds brands. So yeah, uh, in the political world, it's called polarization.
Yes.
In the marketing world, it's actually simply called branding. So it's
Yes.
important to pick out some key aspects and highlight those aspects about the brand and do that consistently. Just speak the same tone of voice yeah, consistently.
Yeah.
Why don't I show you some, some samples of branding, right?
Sure. Sure.
You could have ordered something if you were a D2C business and something selling directly to consumers, right? You could simply package something in a box like this, right? Okay. And you say, okay, it's tackily taped out here, simple box, right? Craft paper box that comes in out here, different types, right? And but it takes so little to make this box slightly better, right? What could we do? The simplest, cheapest thing you could do is saying, instead of putting tape out here, I've got a sticker sheet. I
Got it.
print out a sticker sheet with a brand. I take off a sticker, right? This is a plain sticker. I just get this off here, and maybe just put it on one edge. Okay, let me see if I get this right. I'm pretty bad at aligning things. It's not useful if you're in the printing business, but yeah, suddenly this plain box has come alive. It's got some elements. I could have put another sticker
Yes.
out here as well, right? And it says sometimes people get into very complicated things about when discussing how to build a brand, but it can start off with just your logo on the box, and you welcome when it's being handed over to a customer. A simple thing in a store could be that in a cafe, perhaps, if you're giving a box, a cake, a slice of cake or something, turn it around with a brand there whenever you're handing it over to the customer. Right? It's small thing, but puts your brand first out there. You
Yes.
could have yet had a thing and done something else besides this. You could have printed out a simple sleeve, what we call a sleeve out here. It's a simple sleeve,
Oh, that's very nice.
yeah. And just you can see this in some of the food packages. Make a
Yes.
plain box, fairly ugly looking plain box, if I say, much more attractive by putting a sleeve. Right? And I'm going to say this more than once during this call. What's really interesting is you don't need to go and print hundreds of these. I think it's no longer the time when you think that when my business grows, I'll invest in this. You don't need to, because you can walk into a print store. I hope it's Printo, but you could go to literally any print store and get these sleeves. Right? You can go into printo.in, order this online, right? And I'm sure there are other sites who do this as well. But what I'm trying to say is that this costs as little as maybe a couple of bucks or $3 or $4, right? Depending on the size of the box, to really lift up your entire box. Suppose this was suppose this was a more expensive product, right? Suppose you were in the business of let's say just custom beads or custom jewelry, right? And it was 3,000-4,000 rupees per pack. What you could do with a lot of those is use a custom gift wrap. Right? If you don't know what your box is, or the box is coming from outside somewhere, right, where you want to wrap it up, so you could just use a custom gift wrap. Let me show you an example of a custom gift wrap. This is an example of a custom gift wrap. It could have your logo. This has a Printo logo in a different element, right?
Okay.
But you could put your logo. You could put any design. You could go ahead and even personalize this with the customer's name, right? And you suddenly, yeah, so this could be another design. It's a simple gift wrap, and it could come in large sizes, like as large as a meter wide or even 5 feet wide if you like to. And you could simply gift wrap this there's a box, and put it out, do it with your hand, fold it, and make it a much more presentable product. And imagine getting a gift wrap with your customer's name on it. If you're in the jewelry business or if you're in a high value business, it adds immense value. What is the cost of a gift wrap? It could be as little as 20 rupees, right? But
Got it.
personalized, right? Now remember, you don't need to buy 1,000 of those. So you don't have to spend 20,000 rupees, right? Is not what I'm saying, right? You can just start with one. You can start with five, you can start with 10. So it just, if it's a 3,500 rupee product, adding 20 rupees just enhances to your cost, enhances the whole experience. Right? That's another example of packaging when you're giving something out. I intend to cover a bit of packaging, right? A little more than this, maybe a few more samples. But what will help direct me is if there are certain questions that already start coming.
Yes, yes, we do have questions actually. We have a very, I think the most obvious question which a businesses have is about the budgeting for packaging, right? So we have a question from Hiba saying, how much of marketing budget should a business allocate to packaging?
Yeah. That's a great question, and I think why it's a great question is because we don't even budget packaging in our cost, right? And packaging is a big cost. Yeah, so we need to start with recognizing that it's part of our product cost. So a quick one about product costing. I think the way to anyways do product costing for most of us in the consumer business is, excuse me, is to start with a process called target costing. But normal costing used to be that it costs me uh, 5 rupees to make this pen. It'll cost me another 3 rupees to sell it. I want to add another profit of 3 rupees, so I'm going to sell this pen for 11 rupees. Right. So it's a cost plus model, right? You say
Got it.
how much did it cost you, and then you add on something on top of it, right? And it's a very bad model to do costing. It works well when it gets high commodity, right? So when you say I want to price, how much do I sell, wheat for, or how much do I sell grains for, staples? How much do I sell oil for? A plastic for? There, everybody's input costs are known. It's a commodity. Everybody's selling the same thing. You just want to say how much it cost me, how much margin can I mark up and withhold in the market. But for most of us in the brand business, we are all talking about really what is the value we adding, and do minus, you reduce the value. So it's a value minus model that you talk about. So the
Okay.
question to ask, what is the maximum price that the maximum number of customers can pay for this product? Okay, I'll repeat that. What's the maximum price that the maximum number of customers can pay for this product? Now there will be huge number of prices, so there must be this product. If you sell it at 15 rupees, maybe you have 1,000 customers. I'm taking a sample. Let's take a product. Say, how many customers will I find if I sell this at 15 rupees? Perhaps 1,000. Right? Look around in your. You want to start somewhere. Look around in your apartment complex. How many people in my apartment complex will buy this product? What if I price this at 35? Okay. We say, okay, price is 35. Maybe there will be about 400 people who will buy this. Okay, so you got 1,000 at 15 rupees, 400 at 35. So if I price this at 200 rupees, how many will buy? Maybe there'll be 5 fools who will buy it. Okay,
Sure.
got it. Right? But now, once you've got that, you say, okay, where do I make my maximum money? And you say, 400 people buying at 35 rupees is giving me roughly a 1,400 rupee, 14,000 rupee revenue, right? Do I want to play that, or do I want to go and sell it to 1,000 people at 15 rupees? That gives me 15,000 rupees. But from a profit point of view, I make much more money in the middle, right? So let me go after that, right? And the third scenario where only 5 people will buy 1,000 rupee pen is just not worth my while, because just for 5,000 rupees, I don't want to get into this business, right?
Got
So
it.
think value minus, which means target costing. Once you've said, okay, I've got this, this is the price that somebody will pay for this product, then get to the costing table. No point
Got
getting
it.
to the costing table after that. Then say, okay, I need to make a 50% gross margin on this. And how you make the gross margin math depends on how you're going to distribute and sell this, right? So if you're going to distribute typically in your own store, if you have your own store, you want a 60% gross margin, right? So as simple as that, keep a 50 to 60% gross margin. So if your product is selling for 100 rupees, see to it, how can you manufacture it in 40 rupees? Okay.
Got it.
Rupees is the selling price. Remove 60 rupees, that's your margin. Figure out how to get this made in 40 rupees, include packaging price there.
Okay.
Now, Hiba, to answer a specific question, how much budget should you allocate? Depends on who your customer is, how much value do you expect packaging to provide. If I'm selling this pen for 15 rupees, yeah, and to 1,000 people, I'm expecting them to use this like something very commoditized, very regular. I don't want to spend too much on packaging. I only want packaging to see to it the pen does not get scratched. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to go and find the cheapest protective packaging I can find. Right? Maybe a Seal King, a self-sealing pouch. That's it. A transparent self-sealing pouch. Now, if I'm trying to sell it for 35 rupees, there's much more value I'm attaching to it. I would go out and spend at least 2 to 3 rupees on each of these packaging. Right? And of course, if I've got people whom I'm trying to sell it for, 1,000 rupees to, right? Taking an extreme case just to drive the point more than anything else, I'm going to have something with a tag attached to it. Maybe there's something like a tag, right? Which will talk about how fancy my product is. The tag will be attached to this pen, right? Uh, and this pen will come along with this tag on saying what are the features and benefits of why this pen is so cool. Why is it a 1,000 rupee pen, right? So you talk about the grip, the rubber used out there, how smooth the tip is to write with, and how long it can last, right? All those things will be reinforced. Your brand qualities will be reinforced in your packaging. Yeah. In which case, I would go out and allocate maybe 50 rupees to packaging.
Got it.
Or because I'm making loads of profit. This is yet costing me 11 rupees to make, and I'm selling it 1,000 bucks. So the people who are buying it for something beyond just this. They might be buying it because it's Hiba's pen, right? And it comes in this fancy package stuff. Think about the T-shirts we wear, the jerseys we wear for Man United or for our local IPL teams, right? They don't cost too much to make. Nobody's paying for that. So, but they sell much higher, and hence the packaging that they come in with when you walk out of a Man U store, fancy bag, fancy everything. Perhaps something like a naval bag. Let me show. If I'm going to sell this product for 1,000 bucks, I might as well put it in a bag like this. And again, you don't need to print too many. You can print one of these bags at Printo, right? So just to drive home the point of cost of packaging. But happy to take a follow-on question there. So cost of packaging, definitely raw material cost, put it in. But think about it as from the whole value minus philosophy of how does it help you either protect the product or get more value out of the product.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting approach, like the minus approach. And this also, like recently, if I'm not wrong, a couple of years back, there was this order which was passed by the consumer court that companies cannot charge for plastic bags if they have their branding on it because it has its own value. So I think that was an interesting approach to calculating it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a great question from Harsha, which asks, which is more important, primary or secondary packaging in an e-commerce DTC brand? And I actually personally don't know the difference between primary or secondary, so if you could explain that as well.
I think what Harsha would say is that, so there's a primary packaging, which is the outside packaging, right? And secondary packaging with the protective packaging, right? Harsha, is my understanding correctly when you use primary and secondary? So just put a note on the chat if that's what you, just put a thumbs up if that's what you understand, right? And I think I think both of them are extremely important, right? But let's remember that packaging is a cost, right? So I'll tell you, primary packaging gives me a big advantage in couple of things, right? Let's look at this Printo box. Okay, it's an external box, but whenever it's shipped out, it's carrying the Printo brand. Right? Of course, you're seeing it the other way around; it's mirrored, but you're carrying the Printo brand everywhere it goes, right? So there's huge benefit uh, beyond the fact that it's protecting the outer cover. Right? So I think when you're looking at packaging, I would first look at how much of it this is for protection. Right? Get that out of the way, because you cannot have a poorly protected product delivered, right? And look at it from that lens. Once you go beyond protection, once you sorted that, and that should be the primary consideration, right? For most of the products delivered to home, and some products may not need it, like this pen may not need it, but you yet need some protection coming out there. Beyond that, you definitely have to say, hey, okay, is this product going to be removed and kept in its secondary packaging at home? Okay. Or is it going to be, so in which case, I will spend a bit on the primary packaging, but if you look at, yeah, let's look at classic stuff that we get when we get, let's take coffee again. When I get coffee, I always get this delivered from, if I Swiggy in coffee from Third Wave beans, I get this delivered in a bag. Okay, that's the outer packaging, which I don't care about, right? But the inner is very important, and it's going to be on my shelf for a very long time. So folks who come to my house, and when I make coffee and they're standing by me along with me in the kitchen, they see the Third Wave branding out there. So think about how your product is going to be used, right? If it's just disposable, right, and they're going to discard the packaging and throw it out, it's different, right? But I would suggest that if you can make that primary packaging reusable, right, or even the secondary, great way to go, right? If you can't make it reusable means for the customer for something else. That's a great way to think about it, right? And yeah, so that's how I look at this, rather than only from a technical point of view. Remove safety, then think about use cases of how your customer and consumer will be working with this package. I'll give you an example, one final example on that. This is one of our big clients, and we do packaging for them for their work from home kits, right? Now, if I look at this kit, right, it's got some commodity stuff in it, right? But I know for sure that this box is going to be reused. Okay, it's a pretty solid box, right? So it protects from the outside, but it actually is going to be reused significantly by anybody out there, right? So think through those use cases, and yeah, and this is a known brand, but imagine when I'm trying to build a brand, right? And to your point, there was a time when I used to see a lot of Printo bags, polythene bags. They had a distinct look, which, of course, if you're working at Printo, you'll always spot it. And sometimes you see it from the corner of your eye, different places, people carrying it. And I'm sure that would happen with many other brands, but those days are gone for good reason, because of the ban on plastic.
I had a question, and I think it also aligns with another questions we have in chat. So, do you think unnecessary packaging is a problem in the industry? And to add to that, we have Rapti's question, which says that how do brand ensure that they don't add to the carbon footprint? For example, on an e-commerce site, a very small product, they send big boxes, which is unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah. I think you touch upon a very important point, right? It's a big hassle, right? The way we do and approach packaging is a massive hassle, and I think there are two issues I find out here. One is because all packaging I see is primarily being disposed, right? It's not recycled. Um, Having said that, India actually has one of the best recycling mechanisms worldwide. Right? Just because we are poor, so we squeeze out the maximum of any of the waste that we have. Yeah. So we don't have the best recycling processes, but definitely we see that even the smallest piece is sent to recycle. By the way, most of packaging material in India, right, and primarily worldwide, is made from recycled paper. Right? And one of Printo's investors yeah, runs a very large, yeah, paper mill, and and I get to learn a lot from them on how this is done. So, in some sense, actually, if you see, as long as it's paper-based packaging, and it's not plastic, it's significantly lower carbon footprint, right? A, because they are either yeah, stewardship forest council approved paper, which means these trees are grown meant for a certain place, but mainly because its raw material is the raw material used is primarily waste paper, right? In fact, packaging has gone through the roof. Prices have gone through the roof during COVID because of yeah, because of huge demand, because the all the containers were stuck, transport was stuck, so waste paper coming in into different countries was restricted, and hence packaging
Okay.
went up. So packaging actually, especially when you see stuff like this brown, which we blame a lot of Amazon, you know, products for. I think actually is not as bad as what we see at home when it comes for food packaging, which is foil, right? And that is a problem, right? Yeah, getting foil cleaned out, plastics cleaned out are big problems out there. Coming to how do you ensure? I think one of the ways to ensure this is to see, can you keep your packaging as simple as possible, right? And buy as little as possible in step with your demand, right? Um, don't go and buy 10,000 boxes just because every box will cost you 5 rupees each. Yeah. Go and spend 50 rupees a box, but just buy maybe 20 of them, maybe 50 of them. And as you learn from packaging, go and figure out what is the best thing that's required. Do you need a very strong box overall? Or do you need certain corners that you can get to protect your package? And that's all
Okay.
you instead of the whole solid box, right? So
Got it.
there are a bunch of there's an you know, Institute of Packaging, yeah, based out of Bombay. You can go out and learn a bunch of things that's available locally, and just thinking through quantities, putting restriction. Let me not buy large quantities. Itself is a good way to reduce packaging.
Got it. We have a very specific question from this business called Wildberry Organics. They say they are an eco-friendly brand and they use plastic-free, reusable, or compostable packaging. So they would like to know a little more about the composition of inks.
Yeah. So that's a good question, and I'm going to have a perhaps if you'll leave yourselves your details, everybody who's attending the webinar and can leave it in. We'll send you more data on inks, right, and what inks can be used. We are very new entrants into the space, right, in using vegetable dyes primarily. Right? And the challenge with vegetable dyes that we're facing is that they need to be done manually, right? Very few of the production equipment, right? And I'm right now speaking from Printo's production hub, and we keep trying different types of inks with our production equipment, but very few production equipment will support anything that is even close to eco-friendly, right? And just because the whole supply chain, whether it's toner based or it's yeah, yeah, ink based, uh, is so configured to specific machines and performance and low cost that there's no room to really work out different ways of making this eco-friendly. And you, as a eco-friendly brand, will understand that because you're competing with some big names who use a lot of synthetic materials, and because of which it gets cheaper, more consistent, right? And so I think it's very early stages, right? And what I'll leave you with is that the best you can do for now is look for eco solventings, right? And water solventings. These are two ones, right? So you've got solventings which are right up there, right? So you see in terms of ruggedness to weather, which you see billboards printed on those, and you don't want to touch that. Right? That's we as a policy don't even have a solventing printer all across Printo, across its 6 cities. We don't have a single machine that prints in that. Right? What we do have is what is known as a latex printer. In fact, one of the equipment to my left is a latex printer. It's a big HP printer where it's not solvent, but uses and it's close to eco solvent. So what's known as eco solvent is the eco-friendlier inks. Let me be clear: these are yet bad for the environment, right? But they are significantly less bad for the environment, right? And I kind of feel a pang of guilt when I say that because I know it's not clean as yet. But at least we've moved. We've got an option of moving to something cleaner and cleaner. And then there are techniques like UV printing, which takes regular inks and kind of so if you see a product like this, allows those inks to basically cooks them into any surface, right? So when I talk about inks, I think it's important to also think about the substrate, right? Because inks are bad, but do remember that the substrate that you're printing on, when it's recycled or whatever that substrate is equally bad. It doesn't seem bad prima facie because you say substrate's a clean thing, but to get it clean it takes a lot of chemicals when the paper is produced. But inks are prima facie out there, so we tend to focus on some of those inks are there. My hope is that over the next 5 years, and I'm saying 5 years, you will have many more vegetable ink solutions out here, right? And I hope in the next 6 months, Printo will be able to put out something out there.
All right. We have a question from Nikhil. It says, do you keep a track of your competitors' packaging? If yes, do you try and do something similar or different or completely different?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, as an entrepreneur, it is a must to keep track of competition, of course. But it's it's a very good question you ask because we genuinely face this at times. Should I do something like what he or she did, right? And yeah, and I sometimes look at competing brands and sometimes look at some of the packaging that they do for some of the products outstanding, right? What works for all of us at the end of the day is to find your own truth, right? Because if you don't work from first principles or your own truth or your own philosophy, you will keep reacting to competition and others and adapting others' philosophy. And when you're building a brand, it needs to have a core philosophy, right? And you can model yourself over certain people, but you have to be your own you, right?
Yes.
And that's very important. If you are not, if you don't spend time on your own philosophy, and if you can't think about it, simply think about what would I like. Just ask a question: if I was the customer, what would I like? Right? What would I like to see in this packaging? Okay, I would love to see what my competition does. That packaging is what I would really like. Okay, good. What is different about you as a brand? Right? Write down those 2 or 3 things. Find those things to anchor your packaging in, right? Taking one of inspirations from customers packaging, no problem at all, but how far will you go with that, right? It won't be able to stretch you beyond. So sit down, say, my customer, understand what your customer's journey is. See, a brand is when you're trying to build a brand, it's very much like a human being, right? A good way to think about a brand is think of a personality. A friend in school, Smita. Smita was tall. She had glasses. She used to stand first in class, and she was very witty, but she was also very quiet, right? So you have a personality of person, right? Similarly, brands have personalities. Try to think of your brand as a person. Think about that person. What would this brand do? Now, you would never say that I have to, as a person, that Smita has to always be like Rohan or like Nina or somebody else, right?
Yeah.
She's her own personality, right? So, yeah, Smita is competitive. She will learn from others and say, okay, I want to be as good in science as that person in class, right? But they are all individuals, and your brand is basically you, right? So track the hell out of the competition, only to make it better, But going down, copying the competition is like is okay if you were copying in school and class, right? To get ahead of the next examination. लेकिन लाइफ के एग्जामिनेशन में तो आपको खुद ही कुछ करना पड़ेगा, राइट? सो आई थिंक स्टार्ट फ्रॉम दोज प्रिंसिपल्स.
I have a little follow up on this. What should a business do in a case where the competitions, let's say packaging only in this case, like let's take Apple's example. When they did packaging, it was so loved by the masses that it kind of became a standard. Like today, a lot of these companies, especially in the electronic segment, they do follow Apple's model in some way or the other, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you do in case when your competition's approach is so good that it kind of becomes an industry norm and industry standard?
Yeah, yeah. So I would look at the competition, say, and really learn from it and say, what does it teach me? It doesn't teach me that the box should look good. That is the proximal answer, right? It teaches me that there's a whole brand experience associated with my product. You know, earlier a laptop would be all about a laptop would be about how much memory, what's your processor speed, screen size, boom, that's it, right? कितना बड़ा screen है, memory कितना है, all these kind of things, right? And that's it, right? All tech specs, right? Today it's a Mac, right? And a Mac did not deal with all this. By the way, you want no specs, it's there on the side of the box, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Apple taught us. It didn't teach us packaging only. It taught us this. So that's it's a great question because it anchors into the previous question, right? And say what I would look at that competition if I was Lenovo, let's say, I would look at that. Or if I was, even LG makes a fantastic thin laptop. But if I was anyone else, I would look at it and say, what do I learn from it? That this is no longer a hardcore computing device, right? This is actually an extension of a person's personality, right? And today, if you look at it, none of us buy laptops without some association.
Yes.
Okay, I remember if you bought your first Mac, if you were a Intel user and moved to Mac, right? And what you associated with, and then Mac went in and built the journey for you, right? So it is packaging is just an extension of the brand experience, and the brand experience is your particular insight into your customer, which is only yours, right? Starbucks insight into its customer is very different from the unique insight is very
Yes.
different from cafe coffee days, which is very different from third ways. But everybody is going there to spend time, meet with their friends, and have coffee, right? That is a
Got it.
common insight, right? But there is some specific insight within this space itself, right? It could be that my customers love value for money coffee, but in a certain environment, right? That could be their insight. Starbucks insight could be very convenient. That's why Starbucks worldwide are, located within a few kilometers of each other, right? That's what CCD tried to do out here. Right? And third wave's insight is that, man, their genuine insight is, boss, this is, at least for me, it looks like this is that a cafe can have great food and a fun place to hang out, right? So you were literally like a co-working space, awesome food. Their food is ranks way above perhaps Starbucks, and definitely way above Starbucks, Cafe Coffee Day, in my opinion. Right?
All right. So, like for the past few years, there's this specific category of content that has been created, which is unboxing videos, right?
Yeah.
Like, so how do you think that has given like a boost to the concept of packaging? Like brands think more about it because you have like thousands of YouTubers and, Instagrammers actually making a proper videos focusing on the unboxing process.
Yeah, yeah. I think uh, the influencers have touched upon a very critical moment of truth, right? Which people don't talk about much, and then they discovered this, and everybody else, it resonated with them. So I don't think that it was just a creation; it was actually somebody highlighting it, and it resonating with everyone else. Just like your example of an Apple box, right?
Yeah.
Apple unboxing experience. So let's go one more into a moment of truth thing, right? In a brand experience journey, you have a bunch of moments of truth, right? You have a moment of truth. So if you're ordering something online, you have a moment of truth when you discover the name either through a Google ad. What did that Google ad say? There's one moment of truth, right? What were the lines that it mentioned? Did it say cheapest? Did it say cool? Did it have a great image? What was it? And then the next moment of truth is when you actually order something. How was the interface? How did the product look? Right? Those kind of things. If you're a reseller on Amazon, the moment of truth is the quality of your images and the quality of your sharpness of your specifications and the genuineness of your reviews and your responses to those reviews and complaints, right? Those are the moments of truth. And eventually, we realize that a big moment of truth post purchase is when the product gets there, right? So, I think if you have a product which has this kind of which lasts longer, has an unboxing related to it, go out and do it, right? Do invest in unboxing, and doesn't take much. One of my favorite chocolates in the US has a unboxing experience where you open the wrapper and there's a poem inside of the wrapper, right? And I bought tons of those chocolates and I've not seen the poem repeated, right? And I clearly know it's mass printed, but they just spread it out. They've got so many poems inside, and opening that, the first thing I do is read the poem. Right? It's an amazing thing. You need to have a poem. You could have a saying. You could have something inspirational. Um, on that note, I ordered a credit card. It's a consumer product from Slice, and what they put in besides that was they had stickers, right? And this is the coolest thing you could do with your product, right? Have stickers made out there, which you can, and the sticker doesn't have to speak about the brand necessarily, but can speak about the attitude of the brand, right?
Got it.
Which comes out. Now, imagine in the unboxing thing, you might have a very simple product, but yeah, the person goes through and sees, what is this? Oh, starts reading that and says, oh, these are stickers. Awesome, right? Or may leave it on the side and use it some other time, right? But a commodity becoming an unboxing experience is so this is a credit card product, but look at what happens when I pull it out, right? It did something like
Okay.
that, right? And
Nice.
of course, I found it. Hey, man, where's my card? Right? In the initial piece, but when I really looked at this, I started playing around with it again and again.
Got
I
it.
actually made a video of this and sent it out to a friend who's starting up a credit card business in UK, in London, and from my business school. And I said, hey, this is what guys are doing out here.
Got it. So, sorry. So, like we've discussed how brand and packaging go hand in hand. So, for up and coming D2C brands, right, small businesses, D2C brands. So, what would you like? What would your input be on why they should invest in packaging overall, and what does it bring in terms of value?
Yeah. I think simply there's no why you have to, right? Because
Yes.
we entered an age of brands, and brands are built of experiences. D2C all the more important because you cannot give the service experience right up front, right? Like a retail store can give you a service experience right up front, right? Where you walk in and the way you're greeted, treated, the way it's laid out before you make the purchase
Got
is
it.
establishes the experience. For D2C brands, you don't have that first journey. It's sometimes in your hand or sometimes not even in your hands. Because if you're a reseller on another, if you're a baker who sells primarily through Swiggy, or a small restaurateur who sells primarily through Zomato, or if you're a reseller through Amazon, you don't have that experience in your hand, not too much of it. It's same for everyone else. So it's critical to have packaging as part of your brand experience, right?
Got it.
Because it contributes to your final brand, which contributes to your margin, and it also contributes to your repeatability, which contributes to your cost of acquiring the customer again, right? And instills that. So there have been instances where I have bought something, uh, I've not liked it, but everything was good about the packaging, and it wasn't that the product was shit, but I decided to order it once more because things look, and this has happened with me a lot in pizza, right? Where
Yes.
packaging looks good, everything's good, pizza's okay. If a pizza is shit, there's no way I'm ordering it again, right? Or whatever the packaging, whatever the unboxing experience, right? So the core is the product. But if you've got a above average product and it does not meet your customer's expectation, having a good experience overall does allow the customer to think, yeah, maybe it didn't meet me, but next time I'm having some friends over, I'll order this product again, right? At least it's nice, and maybe it's just not my specific taste. And yeah, so I remember a bunch of pizza brands on my Swiggy app, which I use, which I say, yeah, I don't think they was great, but let me try another flavor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there's this company in Bangalore called Ludo's Pizza.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we ordered like at midnight around 12:30 from there,
Yeah.
and the pizza was okay. But they actually, with the pizza, they sent us a Ludo board in the form of a small paper, and
Uh-huh.
they sent us like a small die and like the pieces, and we
Uh-huh.
actually played Ludo as well.
Uh-huh.
And as you said, right, that entire experience that was created around it, I might not remember the taste of the pizza, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole situation was really memorable.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah. See, I think these brand experiences, brand is made of experiences, and that's very important to remember, right? So, how can you, so you have to identify all the touch points and do that. I remember when I used Instamojo the first time, right? We went to the website, and this was years ago, right? This was not even your current website. I went to the website, clicked a few buttons, and I already had set up payments, right? So the experience for me, I couldn't care how it looked, how good it looked. It was, for me, the experience was super fast, right? As compared to dealing with some other gateways for months, literally sometimes, right? And trying to get that started. And yeah, so whenever I repeated that to other friends, that hey, I set up this Instamojo account and I can get money right away. Everything was okay. I said it was muska, man. It was quick like makhan, right? Very easy to set up, and that is a brand experience that I go away with. So you want to, yeah, yeah, and tomorrow if somebody even told me, hey, I am not able to set this up, I would say, dude, just try it again, right? Because it was pretty quick for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't, and I wouldn't necessarily bother too much about somebody else's brand. But as a consumer, I said, no, 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 there's something wrong. You must be doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
That was so it related to the point that you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, Manish, that brings us to the end of the questions we had for today.
Yeah.
Are there any closing comments that you would like to make about businesses, packaging, branding, and things they should look out for?
Yeah, yeah. Sure. And happy to take any last question. If then none, then I would say one thing that, all of us as entrepreneurs, building, building our new businesses, we have lots of desires, right? What's great? My brand should look like this. My packaging should look like this. Uh, the fact is that we need to understand what's most important for the customer first. Maybe the customer doesn't care for your packaging, right? So that doesn't mean you do poor packaging, but deprioritize it. Don't get obsessive about it, right? Uh, Figure out in the brand experience what are the most important things. For example, Printo figured out while we were doing this, and it comes by trial and error, right? It comes, we made a lot of mistakes, but we finally figured out the customer cares for uh, speed. I thought the customer cared for quality. They came to Printo, number one thing, quality. When I asked them, they realized they came for speed. They came for convenience. Number three was quality, right? And yeah, I said, wow, are these the three things? And we started focusing on that. Let's
Okay.
get customers to focus on that. And yeah, and packaging became a secondary thing for me. But it was an important, it's a hygiene factor, right? But how much do you want to invest in that hygiene factor in terms of emotional energy, in terms of money? Uh, all depends where it fits into this. If I delivered awesome packaging without addressing speed or without addressing quality, it just wouldn't help, right? While I'm going to talk about packaging and saying, hey, come to Printo to do even the smallest unit, even if you have one label, we can do that for you, and that's the uh, new change in technology. But I would also emphasize that, hey, think about whether you really need packaging, whether you need 10 layers of it, or you just need a simple layer of it. Keep it simple. Let's focus on customer first. Brand experience focused on the customer is more important than brand experience focused on packaging.
Yes. Thank you so much, Manish. That was really insightful. For those of you who are tuning with us right now, please register for the webinar to get some resources from Instamojo and Printo, which will help you focus a lot more on packaging and branding. And you can share this with other businesses who might take help out of this. Again, thank you, Manish, for such an insightful conversation. I had a lot of fun, learned so much about branding and packaging today. And for some of you, if you notice, there are some comments which talk about Printo's products. And there's also a discount code that you will get in your email. Please do go through Printo's website and make sure you check them out. The product is amazing, and you can actually get a lot of your packaging needs served by Printo itself. To check out their website, we'll put the links in the comments and description. And thank you everyone for joining with us today. And it was lovely talking to everyone. All the best for your business. And
Thanks, Keval.
yeah,
Thanks, everyone.
yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.